All right, it's 1 p.m. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Charles Zivilman, and I am just so excited to have you all join us for our Activity Strong Decoding Dementia gathering. So this is one of our gatherings, which are longer events. We have an amazing series of different sessions, all focused on memory care challenges and how we can expand and improve the experience of our residents in senior living. Before I get started in kind of few announcements and presenting our first speakers, Loretta, I did want to share with you all that Activity Strong is this initiative that we started almost 2.5 years ago here at Link Senior. And we do this initiative, this partnership with amazing organizations, which are Activity Connection, NAP, and NCAP. So we're extremely proud of this very meaningful work that we're doing. The main goal and ultimate goal actually is to do three things. It's to acknowledge the amazing professionals, activity and life formation professionals, to acknowledge the amazing work, to educate them and to empower them. So all of you, please know from the bottom of our hearts, from our different organizations, that we see the amazing work that you do. Sometimes we're just amazed of the work that you do every day. And we're grateful. We're deeply grateful. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I'm in this industry, but I firmly believe that the senior living industry is the best. And I'm grateful because in the end, what really defines this industry is you all. So I want to thank you, and just so you know, speaking from Link Senior, Activity Connection, NAP, and NCAP, we're extremely proud and honored and excited to continue partnering with you all. So this is my little introduction here. My name is Charles Zivilman. As I mentioned, I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Link Senior. In the end, Link Senior is very proud of its values. So a few years ago, we started this campaign called Old People Are Cool. Some of you might have some of these stickers. Please go to the website. There's a lot of different swags and so on. But essentially, it's us kind of wanting to give back to the industry, but also fighting ageism, right? We're not a fan of segregation based on age. We think that everybody is cool, including our elders, our residents. And I just spoke a little bit about Activity Strong, but that is our way to give back and acknowledge the amazing work of you all professionals. I often get this question, so I'll be brief, but what is Link Senior? Link Senior is a resident engagement platform. We're very excited of the work that we do with many providers, and a few weeks ago, we passed 50,000 lives that we touch every single day, so we're very excited about that. And also, just in, we have an amazing Net Promoter Score that we're very, very proud of. So, just a little bit more details. What we do essentially is we help you do more of what you love to do, which is to engage your residents. So our organization is really about furthering engagement and helping you all provide the engagement that you want to your residents and obviously the engagement that they deserve. And we are evidence-based. So we're also proud of the fact that our clinical study was published in a peer-reviewed journal. And so if you have any interest in some of this work, please be in touch on our website. Feel free to reach out to me or at the survey at the end. So this is a quick introduction about Link Senior. Before we get started in today's first session, I do have a series of housekeeping reminders I need to go through. So up to 3 NAB, NCAP, NCTRC, and NCCGP credits are available today. So to earn your credits, you need to attend at least one session or the 4 sessions. So if you do 3 sessions, you'll get 3 CUs and so on and so forth. For that to happen, you need to fill out the survey that you'll receive in the chat at the end of the day today or by email by the end of this week, so by the close of business on Friday, September 23rd, and we'll issue again the number of certificates that you deserve. Now, please note that due to the very large number of attendees, we will probably send the certificate sometime throughout the week of next week, September 26th, and obviously no later than September 30th. If you have any questions, we have this dedicated email address to answer your question, which is webinars with an S at linksenior.com. As a reminder, this session is being recorded, and one note is the chat and the Q&A features are enabled. So if you want to chat with everyone, please make sure you select everyone so that everyone can benefit from your contribution. But if you have a question directly for the speakers today, please probably use the Q&A feature. That's easier for us to manage. Before we get started, two last comments. One is, as I mentioned before, thank you for everything that you do every single day, and please have fun. So talking about fun, I think that's an amazing way to get us started with our first session. Where do I start, Loretta? Loretta is an amazing professional that I was so lucky to be introduced to a few months ago, and I was amazed by her work. And actually, Loretta participated in our last team meeting here at Link Senior. And so Loretta Vini, is an inspirational speaker and trainer, owner and principal consultant at Superior Training Solutions. And so what Loretta is going to talk to us about is dementia and Lego serious play for improved engagement. Loretta, excited to have you. Thanks for joining. I'll stop sharing my screen and it's all yours.
All right. Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here. There we are. Hopefully everybody can see the slides. And I am just really excited about this topic. I think you will find out. Doesn't take much to excite me, but this is just such a great opportunity, and I'm really so excited about it. And so what we're going to do is, in our short time today, we're going to talk a little bit about something called Lego serious play. I'm going to define what that methodology is and how and why I started using it and how it can be used to keep older adults meaningfully engaged. And at the end, I am going to talk a little bit about the different types of bricks that work for each stage. I'm going to look at each stage of the Alzheimer's process and related dementias and just kind of see what worked from my own experience and then how you may be able to use that as well. So I hope that sounds like a good use of our time. So let's go. And the easiest place to start is just with my story. There's my mom, Doris. She was 77 years old when she was diagnosed with dementia in 2006. And, like most people, I didn't have a plan and but I did have some Lego bricks, and we had communicated and used Lego bricks my entire life. I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Where this got serious for me was in 2014 when she forgot who I was. I'm sure you know from some of your own experiences how devastating that certainly can be, but I was determined to get rid of that blank stare as often as possible and keep going with our connection. And it lasted for 16 years. What a ride it was. And my mom became really popular on social media. So everybody started calling her Wonder Woman because, she said she was supposed to be dying in March of 2021. And she clearly didn't get the memo she was dying. And I got what I call 10 bonus months. And there was a lot of Lego in those 10 months. And so January 31st, we put those Wonder Woman socks on her a few minutes before she died. And just such an honor to be her kid. And, just really looking forward to carrying on the legacy that we started, and who knew it would go this far. And so really, thanks to my mom, she gave me my first box of Lego bricks when I was 5. And, throughout my teenage adult life, we just spent hours and hours and hours building Lego models. My mother was very quiet. She's really un-Loretta-like. And so, but she would talk all the time when the Lego bricks were in front of her. It's like it gave her a voice. And so, for example, when we were coming from the doctors after her diagnosis, I said, well, how are you feeling? So I got out the Lego bricks that I kept in the car. And I said, gave her the bag and the little tabletop desktop thing I had in the car. And I said, just build, what you're feeling. And she popped her head off of one of the little Lego bricks, and she said, I feel like a few years from now, I'm going to lose my head. Now that gives you some idea of how profound this, little toy was for us. She could find her words without that. And I put that thing on social media and it got thousands of comments. And, it brought her so much joy throughout, our lives that I knew I had to share it with other people. One of the lessons she taught us was when you find something that works, don't keep it to yourself, share it with other folks. And there's Mom's best friend, Miss Adams. They were friends since kindergarten, and she died 10 days after Mom. And you have that. And so there they are, doing a little Lego session, and look at how focused, my mom is. So it's kind of how it all started. And here's just some samples of, how we were. And, she could build with a few bricks at a time. She could do regular size bricks, the Duplo bricks, which are the larger ones. She could build with a plate to tell a story. I mean, we did it all. And I want you to take a close look at that picture on the right with the little purple outfit. That was just 7 hours before she died. So I got everything I wanted, other than the fact that she isn't here. She died with no pain, and she died doing Lego on the last day of her life. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. Here are those 6 bricks. I take them everywhere and guard them with my life, kind of thing. And she just enjoyed it, and her face says it all, I think. So before I tell you what Lego Serious Play is, let me just say a word or two about the Lego group itself. So if you don't know the story, it is not a US company like a lot of people think. It was created by Ole Kirk Christiansen in Denmark in 1932. Now, I don't know what the man was doing, but for some reason, it took him 3 years to name it. Don't know why, but wow, what a name he chose. It is the combination of 2 Danish words, leg and gut, which in English means to play well. Is that like the coolest thing ever or what? I think so. So anyway, so one of the most interesting things that happened in 1989, Lego was named Toy of the Century. And most people would be thrilled to be named that. And I'm not gonna say they weren't thrilled. However, they also had some concerns around that time about how they were operating internally. So the CEO, one of the Christensens, he wanted them to look and see how they could improve. One of their goals was to take over Mattel, the Barbie people, as the #1 toy company in the world. That's what they really wanted. And so it was created. It went through a whole lot of renditions, but it eventually became known as Lego Serious Play. And here's where it got my attention. I'd been watching it for years. And in 2010, they did something they call make it open source, which means everybody could kind of use it. And what drew me to it, particularly in this field, is that Lego Serious Play, I call it the equalizer. It ensures that everyone is included and all voices are heard. Now you get where I'm going with this? That had dementia written all over it for me. I'll say again, everyone is included and all voices are heard. Amen to that. So the definition of what Lego Serious Play is, it is a methodology that the Lego group created. It is facilitated. So the facilitator guides participants through a process of creative thinking, expression, listening, goal setting, and in some cases, problem solving. And so during each Lego Serious Play session, every participant, I'm going to say again, every participant builds a response or an answer or a solution to a question or task with those Lego bricks. One example that you're looking at, build a model that represents what brings you joy. Yay, that's an easy one. I built a lot of joy in the last couple of years, let me just tell you. So the #1 question I get, I'm gonna answer right here. Is Lego Serious Play a real thing? I mean, is this like some kind of joke? No, it was a week long, not a joke kind of class. That's my graduating class in 2014. The gentleman on the far right with the light color shirt and the burgundy pants, he was a 20+ year Lego employee, one of the ones that spun off to make this consultancy to help them, overtake Mattel and create this thing. And they eventually did that when the first movie came out in 2014. So it was a real class, almost a whole week long. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but one of the most worthwhile as well. And then who knew COVID was going to come into our lives? So the top certificate on the left there is I could teach it online too, which is one of the reasons why we're here today. And so, yeah, it's a real thing. And it has, I don't want to say changed lives. A lot of people say that, but people remember it for a long time. I certainly will say that. So here are the parts that make it up. First and foremost, I mentioned the task. Now, a lot of you out there who are like, how can I design something like this? Typically, when people ask for a Lego Serious Play session, I tend to, as the facilitators, build the task, but sometimes the task questions. Sometimes they want to do that as well. So either way, however it happens, there's a task that you're trying to create. Everybody agrees to build, which is step number 2. And then everybody agrees to share, which is just so cool. They share what they've done. And then we have reflection. That either means I reflect on what we've heard around the room or on the screen, or we reflect about common themes that have emerged, either team building or joy or whatever we've heard a lot during the sharing. Now, as you see at the bottom, a typical session typically has up to 3 building rounds and takes with 10 to 20 people, takes up to 2 hours or so. Now, I have shortened that significantly when we are dealing solely with folks with dementia. A lot of people will say, can we just do an hour? The answer to that is yes. Sometimes what happens though is at the end of the hour, they're like, we want to keep going. So we just keep going. So, but that's the typical setup. And I can talk to you more about that online. So why was I so excited about this work and the folks with dementia? Well, in the building stage, I knew that building would give the folks with dementia a lot of joy, because it's not like you go to the Lego store and buy a box to build this Corvette or all these other things that they make. There are no instructions. So when they have a Lego Serious Play session, there's no instruction book that comes with it. I know you bought sets for your kids or your grandkids. A big book comes with it, no book. So I knew that would work. And then sharing their stories. One of the things we talk about in person-centered care, well, you have to learn their life stories. Yeah. And in this case, they're sharing. They not only built part of their life story in many cases, but they're also sharing it. And it can be so joyful and even really emotional, both for the person sharing and their care partners. They're like, wow, I learned something about my mom or dad or grandma that I didn't know. And that's why I said so many previously untold stories can come out. That is so true. The reflection stage is really great, not just for me as a facilitator, but they can remember so many surprising things. Like they had a red door on the house they grew up in. I mean, so many things come out, and just the looks on people's faces, like it is just really amazing. This is the best work ever. And people can't believe I do, I can do Lego all day, every day. So, and yes, my earrings are Lego, but yes, there you go. All right. So if you have no building experience, people say, I'm not creative. You don't really need to be creative. Why? Because Lego Serious Play is based on building a metaphor. So I'm simply asking you to change your thoughts, or the people that you work with, into metaphors. So that unlocks your imagination. So here's the thing. Whatever you tell us it is, we're going to say, yay, and go to the next person. So take a look at that green brick. It is what is called a 2x4, which is Lego's most popular brick, right? 2 studs going across and 4 down. So instead of just looking at that as a green brick, how about if I tell you that it's an organization looking to grow, or a garden looking to grow? How about that? So you get the metaphor thing. Yeah. So, and nobody's going to say it don't look like a house. People might think it, but they don't say it. So it's just free. So people allow themselves to share freely, especially when I said the equalizer. When people come into a room, especially if I'm working with an organization, I have the CEO in the room all the way down to whatever the lowest person is there. And people share like crazy when the CEO is right there with them. So all the titles go out the window and everybody's just a builder. Simple as that. But listening is one of the keys. So sometimes the CEO is like, wow, that person had a fabulous idea. If we're building, what better way can we interact with seniors? And the person that has worked in the cafeteria for 10 years has the best solution. Lego believes that the answers are always in the room. Simple as that. So listening to the story sheds so much light, more than I think a lot of times we think possible. So Lego activities with those with any kind of cognitive issues. In the early stage, here's some examples of what I do. I have them build their bucket list. Just because they have been diagnosed with dementia doesn't mean they don't still want to do stuff. Keep going with whatever they were already doing, right? So I also have them build their life stories. I have them build their favorite home, because when you get in the later stages, they just want to go home, right? And so I let them go for it. Go build your home, girl, go for it. And so it's wonderful. I have them build family holiday vacation memories. That is a hoot. It is unbelievable what they come up with. And then in late stage is really just about Lego art. That's what we call it. Yeah, just throw some bricks together. And mostly, like Charles said, we're just trying to keep them engaged. They can sit there for hours. I've sat there with them for hours playing with the Lego bricks. And it's fascinating to watch. And I'll show you what I mean by that as we go through. So, early stage. In my mother's case, that meant just keep doing what we're doing. So advice to you, if you're trying to set up a program with some Lego bricks where you are, start small. Don't spend a lot of money and say, hey, this Lego thing didn't work. Loretta lied to us. Don't spend a lot of money and then blame it on me. So just start small. Get a little small box. I'll show you that as we go through. And then just do whatever's fun for them. Remember, there's not a lot of directions other than building. I mean, if they don't want to build the task you gave them, go to something else. And so really it's just about building and talking, listening to the stories and laughing a lot. Laugh. Now, what you're looking at on the screen, I had Legos everywhere. There's my mother in the car. DC traffic. I'm from Washington, DC. I was born and raised in Washington, DC. And yeah, you know that traffic. So I always had Lego bricks in the car. It kept my mom's anxiety down to zero. Instead of saying, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. When you took out the Lego bricks, it was like a drug. Silence. Yes. There she is with fidget toys we made during the early stage and kept her occupied while we were waiting for the doctor to come in. This is one example. Have them build things in the early stage. Look at these fidget toys. My mother did this, spun wildly. When you make this in the early stage, they can play with it in the late stages. I would tell my mom, you made this. And she would say, I did. That's cool. Yes, it was cool. So on the right, though, what you're looking at, Lego Education makes a whole series of doors and windows, and she could build all the houses she wanted to. So there she is building a house so she could go home. And here's a little Lego person with gray hair, as you can see. And she would open the door to the house and look in and say, I'm still in there. Yes, indeedy. And so it works brilliantly in the early stages because their sharing and reflecting can be so raw and just so amazing. And like I said, we learned things that, about them they didn't know. My mother told stories. One time she built a schoolhouse, talked about her teacher. Who knew? So yeah, I learned a lot. And I tried to write down as many things as I could. I unfortunately didn't record a lot. I have thousands of pictures of us building, but try to capture those stories if you can. So early stage, keep doing whatever's fun for them. So middle stage, less about the process. If they can't do the task, go to something else. So, focus on the outcome. Really encourage them. We clapped a lot. I told her how great she was. Just like, when I was a kid, my mother praised everything we did. All those ugly pictures of what we made on the refrigerator, that kind of thing. And so I always, praised her. I stayed engaged. It's not like, sometimes you come home and you throw your kids in front of the TV so you can have a minute. I never did that. I wanted to see what she was building and be engaged with it. And so during COVID, we learned a lot. We were home with our kids and grandkids, like, woo, everybody was home. So involve kids if possible. My mother and my granddaughter, who is now 10, they had an amazing relationship from the time Kendall was 2. So they would build together and my mom would always say pretty. And if she didn't say pretty, Kendall would take it apart. And so involve kids, get them engaged. You'll see some kids before this presentation's over as well. So middle stage, more on the, the outcome. Look what we did, yay. And not so much about, mama, that's not how you do it. Remember, it's about them, not about you. So if you don't, just cheer anyway, even if you don't like it, don't try to tell them how to do it. You can work with them and you'll see that as we go through too, but don't try to do it for them. So middle stage, keep a closer eye on. And there you see on the left, she's opening them doors. So she was 92, she could still open the doors to the little Lego house. So she made that one that she's holding in 2014. So middle stage, it started to get out a little bit. This girl in Maryland had this Legos thing with her mom, and all the media started to show up to check it out. The New York Times, the Washington Post. The picture with my husband and my mom in the bottom, that picture was in the Post at the end of 2016. And right after that article was published, my husband died very suddenly. So he missed a lot of the Lego fun. But you can see from the picture with the gentleman with the huge camera right in her face, she is so unfocused on him. It was all about the Lego. And so people, were just transformed by how she was. When she would have that blank stare and wasn't engaging at all. When the New York Times guy showed up, she was just sitting there. He was like, I thought you said she was engaging. And so he was not happy with me. So he said, well, let me see the Lego bricks. We get the Lego bricks out. He had been in our house an hour. And so as soon as the Lego bricks come out, she sees him finally. And so she says, oh, hello, like he just walked in and he had been there an hour. So that was the power Lego had with her. And I can't explain it. I don't know why it works so well with her, but lots of people came to see it happen. And so cool thing. So middle stage got really interesting for us. Now, late stage. Please don't leave them alone with the bricks. Look at the picture on the left very carefully. I'm taking a picture of what she built. What's she trying to do? She's trying to eat them. Never leave them alone, because especially if you're doing little pieces, and one of the reasons why lots of adult day programs use the bigger Duplo bricks is because you don't want to turn your head and turn back and then they have eaten something. When I am doing a session with people in late stage, my next door neighbors, I recruit everybody. My next door neighbors, my best friends, all these people help me pull the little pieces out. So I try to eliminate that risk as much as possible. My goal was just to build love with her. There we were all the time. And what's interesting about the puzzle on the right, because she was so used to Lego, I always did 4-piece puzzle. You can see that's 4-piece puzzle, but look at that. She's in hospice by then, but look at her put that 4-piece thing together. I guess it's because she had some muscle memory about it. It's stunning that she could do that at that stage. She was supposed to be dead by then. And so there she still is putting together that 4-piece puzzle. It's amazing. I have all kinds of puzzles here that I've done that she could match up, just, amazing little colors and shapes. And she was good at it too. So again, maybe one of the activities you all could do is make some puzzles too. Again, when they can still recognize what they're doing. And then it's such a treat to allow them to engage with something they created earlier on. So I hope that suggestion helps you. Now take a look at this picture. Look very carefully where the arrow is. The woman who's building that, look at her thought. Look, she's just super focused. But look at what that arrow was pointing to. That Lego build is upside down. I'd never seen anybody do that in all the years I've been doing this. So I comment, wow, look at yours, it's upside down, that's great, this is so cool. She looks at me, she says, well, of course it's upside down. It's just like my brain. Let that sink in for a second, because she clearly understood there was a disconnect in her brain somewhere. How cool is that? And she never said much, but that's what she said that day. So there you have it. How profound is that? So some of the greatest joy and the biggest surprises come from the folks in the later stages, that's for sure. And here's some of the rest of that same group. Look at the lady on the left. Look at the beautiful jacket she's wearing. And then look at what she's building. The same, right? Look at how she just stacked up all the colors. Meanwhile, look at the friend next to her with the beige sweater. She built nothing until she separated everything by color. Look at that. All the blue pieces, the orange pieces, the red pieces. She had it going on. Now, the picture on the right, you might see the lady in the light blue sweater and the person next to her in the red sweater. They may seem unengaged to you, but the thing was, they had already built their thing. They're like, okay, what's taking everybody else so long? Let's do another one. And so they came right back. We changed plates as the things you build on, and they were with it all day. And they were some of the groups that refused to go to dinner when it was dinner time. Come on, it's time for dinner. I'm gonna stay here. So they would also, can you stay longer? They want to keep going. Yes, girl, I can stay longer. And so it's just cool to watch. So you can see the things are in front of them. And we actually did do 2 more rounds, and they came right back when we started over. And so they were just done for the minute. They were not unengaged. So just to clarify that picture. The lady on the bottom of the screen, she had never played with Legos in her whole life, but look at that art. That looks like a Monet or something. Look at that. So yeah, I get excited about what they build. So engagement can absolutely continue. This was an amazing thing I did in 2019, Generations Crossing. If anybody's on here, yay to y'all. We built the whole world without Alzheimer's. You can see the plate was totally empty. 9 hours later, we had built the world without Alzheimer's. Every adult in the adult day program and every kid that is in the after school or pre-K and K sections helped put this world without Alzheimer's together. Their activities director was one of the best, Lynette. She died right after we did that, broke my heart. but what a memory that was I have of our relationship, and what a thing that is. So use your imaginations to engage everybody in the program. People, when their adult children came to get them into the day, the gentleman there looking at his thing, his daughter came to pick him up. She was like, he doesn't like any activity but Lego. And they were so proud to show their kids what they had built. And so just an amazing thing. So just use your imagination. We were pretty popular on social media. As I said, this thing got a lot of attention. I hated only seeing my mom through the glass during COVID. So I went home and created, me looking at my mother through the glass. That created thousands of comments. And then I noticed then how lonely a lot of caregivers were because the adult day programs were closed. And so I dedicated that 2020, 2021 to the year of the caregiver. And I started doing all kinds of sessions with caregivers that I'd never done before. And so that really was the sort of jump off point of what I now do. So what about the activities I do for professional and family caregivers, like many of you on this call? Well, I help a lot of people, especially organizations, build their strategic plan and their mission. I just did that last week for 3 days in St. Louis. Building strengths and goals. Like, what are some of the best things that make you great at what you do? What goals do you have for 2023, which isn't that far off now? I have helped hundreds of caregivers at this point build or rebuild joy and hope, and embracing caregiver challenges. And you will see a photo of that as well. So let's take a look at some examples of that. Now, full disclosure, this is my church. I go to St. Mark's Episcopal Church, Capitol Hill in DC. And this is a Saturday respite program that we were running that day. And they were, just building some of their best caregiver experiences that day. There I am in the corner, sort of directing and seeing what's going on, but they were having a ball. Now, this AARP Nebraska, brought me in virtually to work with caregivers to, they wanted to build superpowers, hope, joy, and superpowers. And we did that. A couple of people you can see brought their loved one with them. And so that was just a summer. So again, I asked them what they want to achieve, and we kind of go with that. Johns Hopkins is my largest client. Kudos to y'all if y'all are out there. Their Elder Plus and Call to Care programs just do some amazing things to give caregivers some respite. Look at the smiles on those faces. And the woman on the bottom left, she thought she had a sitter for her husband, and then was told that the person had COVID and couldn't come. So she was going to cancel. They were like, don't cancel. Loretta would say, bring him. So we said if he was supposedly very unruly. So I said, well, if he gets unruly, just turn your camera off. It's as easy as that. That man said that the whole time, just stared at the screen and kept picking up pieces. So he was just as engaged as everybody else. So that Lego decided, was a lot of therapy. So there you have it. And then these are building hope for Hopkins. And on the left, Hilarity for Charity, started by Seth Rogen and his wife, Lauren Miller, wrote it. I am on their care advisory board. And so we were having their caregivers embrace some of the challenges that they were facing. You can see the middle picture. They brought the whole family, not just grandma in the middle, but all the kids were there. Everybody was there building, trying to find a way to communicate with grandma. What a kudos to them for the way they have embraced this. I also do a lot of work with professional caregivers, assisted living, memory care, social workers, OTs, CNAs, all that. And there's a group of them holding up some of the things that they built. The occupational therapist on the left, they were building a strategic plan for a specific group that they were working with. The woman, very excited about her, showing her what she built. I was asking them to build one thing that they could do to improve the services they provided to the pre-K kids. And she wanted an indoor gym that they could run around and get rid of that energy when it rained. Yay, her. So she was pretty proud of that. It was pretty good too. And so just think of all the things you can do with this. And so this one is the largest group I've ever done, 80 people. It was hosted by Honor, the company that bought Home Instead. They were doing a team building last December to merge the two organizations. What a hoop that was. Wow, did they do some building all about the joy and how they were going to work together. It was one of the most fascinating days of my life. And I know a lot of people say that. It really was, especially facilitating that by myself, but it was a special day. I still communicate with lots of them. And so think about how you could do that as well. Now, I did not do the people working together until probably mid 2020. I started to do like memory cafes for people building together. The couple in the middle, that kind of happened accidentally. He has Parkinson's in addition to that. So she was helping him build. He would tell her where to put the pieces and she would put them there. So that was cool. And the gentleman in the middle on the right, he had just decided that day he was no longer going to fight his prostate cancer. It was the happiest I had ever seen him. And he wasn't going to miss, Lego Day. This is an example of a early sort of intervention kind of program memory. And it was called the Mind and Body Workshop for Insight. And what we were building was getting to use their mind, body, and spirit kind of thing. And so they did a lot of building that day, and we just had a great time. The couples there range from, the newly diagnosed persons range from being married for probably 15 years all the way up to 50 years. So the discussion there was so rich. A lot of tears were shed during that, particularly when one of the things I had them build was, how are you going to handle the tough days and hold on to your hope, when there's some ugly caregiving days with dementia. And the couple that had been married 50 years, they built all of that. They were going to focus on all of the sunrises and sunsets that they had experienced as a married couple. Let me just say I was the only one not crying in that room. So it was just mind-blowing. And this is just one of the memory cafe things where, again, they build and share with their loved ones. And everybody's in red because we were doing it. They were building their favorite holiday memories just right before the holidays. Very cool. There's more pictures of them. Just amazing. The woman with the mask, she talked them into letting her build on the other side of the room with her mom with her mask on. And then the executive director is sitting with one of the participants because his wife, I think, was sick that day. So, she stepped in for the wife. And so, we can make anything work, right? And so just building hope. Look at their happy little faces. It just is a lot of fun. Did an in-person for Sunrise. They wanted to build, favorite memories. And a lot of them were building their favorite vacation. The couple on the bottom left, the aunt and the niece, they were building a cruise ship. And the woman started talking about line dancing and, the midnight buffet. And the niece was like, Auntie, you remember that? And she's like, of course I remember. It was 15 years ago. She said, well, you never talk about it. The aunt said, you never asked me. So there you have that. So really cool. And this is more of them. You can say the whole family building the cruise ship there. And the gentleman in the orange shirt, he had trouble because he has Parkinson's too, but the Sunrise employee stepped in and helped them build their favorite memory. And so the lady that's at the bottom with the purple thing, her relative was not able to come that day. She didn't care. She built, that's a bed that she was building. Her joy was having her grandchildren over. So, she didn't need anybody, she said. So go girl. And so, I just take something from each of these things. Here's the intergenerational group from that Generations Crossing, where we built the world without Alzheimer's. And I had them use the all white pieces. I think some of their funding is tied to how many intergenerational hours of activities that they do together. So I wanted, when people looked at that world without Alzheimer's, I wanted them to be able to see these are the pieces that the folks, the adults and the kid folks did together. I've done this for Alzheimer's associations all over the place, and dementia friendly. This is the Department of Aging, Living Creatively with Dementia series. Most of them brought their loved ones with them as well. But just the creativity was just really amazing. So now, I think one of the things that I want to say about bricks, I'm gonna say a few things about bricks and kind of how this goes. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is there a special package that you have to use for Lego Serious Play? So that's a kind of a yes, no answer. The bag on the far left is a bag that is produced by Lego. They sell it to facilitators and it comes in a box of 100. That kit is just fine, let me say. Not one thing wrong with it. However, I chose to open it up, and my best friend in the whole world is nice enough to assemble a kit for me that has my label on it, as you can see. I wanted a few more brighter colors in there too, and I added something very special, which you will see in a minute. The third picture has some larger pieces in it. That is the kit I create for the Memory Cafe session. Why? Because I want Duplo to be included in there as well. So as they're building together, they can both say they had equal parts. The session I did for artists, senior living, one of the first ones, and the one I did for Sunrise, I went back to them to try to get a sense of what worked and what didn't. And then I've added and tweaked the pieces since then. So, you always want to get feedback from the family members about, what is working. I know what worked with my mom, but I also wanted to tweak it to sort of play around as much as possible to kind of see what works. So one of the questions that I get a lot is that when you're doing this virtually, how do they get the kits? And so typically I will mail the kits out, hopefully 10 days or so prior to the event. I would just say, full disclosure, I have a love-hate relationship with the United States Postal Service. And for example, last week in St. Louis, I mailed 3 huge boxes for a group of 50 people. And we were doing all day things, and there's a lot to that. But every single box was damaged when it got there, and some of the pieces had fallen out. But lucky I overpacked, so we had everything we needed, but that was a little bit scary. So, and I was using the Postal Service boxes, by the way. Let me say that. Wasn't some Amazon, I should have used an Amazon box and it would have been fine. Anyway, so, I try to mail them out well in advance to whatever, addresses people have on file. But we have had at least several cases where the bricks didn't arrive to at least one of the people before we started. So I tell people either run next door, borrow some, everybody got Legos, right? So borrow some from a neighbor. If all else fails, go down to the dollar store, Walmart, or Target. At the end of the Lego aisle, there's usually always at this end cap, there's a little package, little cellophane kind of package that's at the end of the aisle. That's usually no more than $5. And you can see that when there's a picture of a helicopter. Well, they're not going to build the helicopter. They're going to build whatever the task is like everybody else. But you just want them to have somewhere between 20, 25 pieces and 50, 60 pieces. If we do the 3 rounds, like we talk about, sometimes I ask the client, do you want them in between rounds to, build something and then take it apart? Or do you want separate sets for each thing? When I was in St. Louis last week, they built with a whole new kit every single time. And then we put them all together on the very last day and built this huge thing. Now, most people don't do it that way, but it is possible to do that. Just do what kind of feels right for you. But the later stage you're working with, the more bright colors you want to do. It is really all about the colors. This is these pictures, I get this question a lot. These things are called dots. Is something you put on top. I made this for my mom in the later stages, so she could still match it up. They both sides spin around, but dots are just very small pieces. You don't want to let them get a hold of that. I built this myself and put it on. You can see the studs now there, and you just put the dots on top of it. It's Lego's probably last one of the latest offerings to the millions of things they offer. But because they are such bright colors, and because this piece spins around, I wanted to use the brightest colors that I can get. So in the beginning, in their early stage, it doesn't really matter, but the brightness of the colors, the purples, the oranges really stand out for them, especially if they're having trouble seeing as well. So you'll know what's really working and what isn't. But just be aware that the colors and the sizes all kind of work together. So, that package, if you want to use something small, is, really cool. So here is what is in my individual kits. So the gray piece on the left there, that is what is called a plate, and they can typically build on that. I also show up with huge plates. They make 6 by 6, 10 by 10. So if several people are building together, they can use one huge plate. I let the organization decide on what kind of plate they want to use, but that gray one that they can also build on comes in every kit I put together. Notice that pink heart. It's everybody's favorite piece. And yeah, Lego makes a heart. They make a little one too. I like the bigger one better because some people use that as a plate. It allows them to really express themselves. The black piece that's there with the 4 prongs, that piece actually spins as well. When you combine it with one of those gray pieces on the second row, it has a little knob sticking out. When you combine that black piece with it, it spins around. So sometimes if I'm asking them, what's your greatest challenge, at being a caregiver? And some caregivers will spin that piece around and say, I feel like I'm spinning in circles. So again, the metaphor, I wanted to have at least one moving piece to help people really articulate what it is. The piece that's kind of a shiny yellow, a lot of people use that for a brain, take the head off and put things, and then you see there are flowers. I just wanted some variety. So I probably substitute 15 pieces from the Lego kit to make what I call my inspiration kit. I do want to inspire people, but you can put your own kits together. And then the kit on the right, that is the Memory Cafe piece, which is what includes the Lego Duplo pieces. I typically add somewhere between 6 and 8, depending on how the session is. Those eyes that are in that pack. Now, again, if you're building with them, the eyes aren't a problem, but those are really small pieces. And if they're in the later stages, they might be thinking, that's their medication. So, again, you just want to keep a close eye on people. One of the things I've done, like that lady that wanted to be by herself at sunrise, she was cool building about her grandchildren. I made sure that there were no small pieces at all, even remotely small, on her table, since she really didn't have sort of the oversight that everybody else did. I spent a lot of time like right on the edge of that table, looking over at her. So, and you know who your people are who might need, extra time, extra, attention, things like that. So you can just get an idea. You can see most of the pieces are the same, but the Memory Cafe kit is really cool. And the little Lego people that are there, some organizations want a lot more people. They want to just have, represent family and that kind of thing. So in St. Louis, we probably used 200 people over the 3 days, and they got to take that home. So yeah, I'm sure they were really happy with all their little Lego people. And so again, it just really depends on what you want to achieve and all of that. But it is a really, kind of cool thing to do. Now, if you're going to the Walmart or Amazon and you want to get a kit, again, don't spend a lot of money. If you want something called a classic set, there's 2 of them on the screen there. The one on the left are the regular size pieces. And again, there is a book in there that has some suggestions of what you can build. But again, this is all about letting them use their creativity. What you can see in that box is there's a whole lot of colors, right? And so you want the purples on there. And there's a little orange thing sticking out, which is really cool. What that is, it helps people take the pieces apart. I stuck it together. Oh, I don't like that. If my mother didn't say pretty, like we took it apart, like I said. And so then you get it together, like, how do I get this apart? So all these kits come with a little thing, a separator, they call it. And so that's cool. Now on the right is a classic box of just Duplo bricks. And you can either find that on the Lego education site, or much cheaper, just to be honest, at Amazon or Walmart.com. So, and just buy one and see how it goes. There are a lot of really cool, pieces, I think, that get their attention. You can see them in the Duplo ones. There are flowers, there are stars, and you just want to see what kind of metaphor they come up with. A lot of people, I had one woman build, a whole little conglomeration. She put this star on the top, and I wasn't sure where that was going. And she said that each of the little, sort of plain bricks she had each one, she had 5 kids, and she had 5 little bricks. And then she put a star in the middle. She felt like all of her kids were stars. And that was just like, who knew you could make that connection at that point? And so, yeah, just let it see where their, thought process, really goes. I think where we get hung up sometime is, oh, well, they can't do that anymore. Let's see if they can before we, make a determination about, what they can't do. Some of the greatest success I think I had, especially with my mom, was, when I think, I thought she wasn't focused and she ended up doing some of her best work. So, I just took a lot of pictures so that I could remember. And if you are doing that with folks and their loved ones aren't there, take some pictures to say, hey, look what your mom or dad or auntie created. And that might get them to engage when they come as well. We even did a thing, I know it sounds crazy, but we even did a thing where the caregivers helped my mom build online while I was at home, and we would build the same thing and hold it up and clap for each other. So there were a lot of ways. I mean, COVID was a horrible thing, but we still did find a way to kind of make a way. And so I think Lego can absolutely do that. If somebody had told me when I took this facilitation class in 2014 that you'd be able to do this online, I would have said there's no way. that could work online. But some of the best sessions I have done have been online, and people I'm never ever AARP in Nebraska. I'm never going to meet them probably although I'm going to Home Estate in November, maybe so. But people that you ordinarily aren't going to meet in real life feel safe and comfortable sharing some of the most vulnerable times of their lives. And we know how challenging caregiving can be. But when they feel like they can take one of those things you're looking at on the screen and make something that represent some of the greatest challenges that they've had, or some of the greatest successes that they've had with their loved one with dementia, you just see the smiles and all that. And that's why I love showing family members who couldn't come, look at what your person did. They're like, what? Who knew? And, it's just been amazing, I think. And so here's some of the lessons that I want you all to kind of take away as we wind down and get to some of the questions. I've learned so many lessons. I tried to keep it down to 4, but here they are. I'm starting to do some research. People are talking about, I need to do another book, but this one about Lego. There's only a couple of people doing this, apparently. One of them I actually met in Oregon. She was going to visit my cousin, and we were friends on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, we the only 2 people doing this dementia thing. What do you think? Let's meet. And so she picked me up at the airport. Who does that? This woman picked me up at the airport. We talked all kinds of Lego strategy and all that. So I'm starting to research. There's a lot of research on autism and kids, and you might know Lego just invested $20 million in neurodivergent kids, so cross between ADHD and autism. So people are wondering, are they going to do something related to dementia? And I'd say, no, they don't really get involved in sort of one-on-one projects, if you know anything about the Lego group. But we think they are aware that this is kind of out there, and there's some people working with folks with dementia. So there you have it. And one of the greatest lessons I learned is this 3D model things. Man, we are, never sure what's going to come out of it. But when people share what they are thinking and feeling, it really can be emotional. The lady that was my sponsor at one of the Insight Memory Care program, where we had the married couples who had just been diagnosed, where one of them had just been diagnosed. She said, this is one of the best sessions I've ever been to in my whole life. I've sponsored a lot of programs. My only complaint is you need some Lego Kleenex on these tables, which is probably true. And I'm not gonna lie, the thing with the sunrises and sunsets, I got to my car and cried and cried and cried. I just loved how they included their loved ones when they were telling the stories. Honey, do you want to add anything to what I shared? And sometimes the person with them, it was the men in this case, all of the men, which I had never had before. The men would share what they wanted to add to what they built together. And I thought that was so amazing. And I was just praying that they keep that love and connection through the whole journey, however long it is. And I cried and cried when I got to my car, because it's like, they have no idea what to expect. But I just hope that they were as wonderful as they were that night, just so new with their diagnosis. And so really emotional for that sense. And I think the surprises, I encourage people to record how amazing some of these things are, stories that the grandma or whoever's been telling forever, but because of the way the task and the questions are formed, it's just not a normal conversation topic that usually would come up. That's why so many surprising things occur. And the future is bright. Keep building. I'll give you an example. When I do this, especially if we're doing it virtually, they get to keep the pieces. And one woman has sent me a chat. She's like, I know I'm so mean to my husband. He's wandering at night. I'm not getting any sleep. I just need more patience. And we talked about patience. The next thing I get from her, like 4 weeks later, she said, Loretta, my husband was up all night, but look, I took my thing apart and built patience. I'm like, go girl. I was so proud of her. So instead of yelling at him, like she said she did, she built patience with her bricks. Give her credit. I was like, yeah, that's cool. So keep building. I encourage people. My friends call it Lego therapy. And so it's just amazing what you can kind of, do with it. And you may know we were selected as one of Robin Roberts' Thrive Thursday series. To hear Robin Roberts say my name was just mind blowing, but it was all about the Legos and how I continued to communicate, with my mom. It was an amazing honor. And they were shocked when my mother died. The producers called and said, Wonder Woman died. They had, just been there, and they were going to talk about coming back for her 93rd birthday. So Robin wrote a very nice tribute to my mom, and lots of money was donated on that day in my mother's memory. And I'm just so proud of that. And, my goal is just really to carry on, our legacy that we started. My mother wanted to travel and never did. But yet when she died, we got condolences from 18 different countries. So she reached a lot of people. I'm thrilled with that. And I just hope I'm doing her justice with, keeping this going and really reaching as many people as I can with just a little box of Lego bricks. So I think they are going to help me. I think Charles might come back and help me with questions, and we do have time to do that. So I'm certainly ready to do that. And I hope you all found at least one or two things you could take away from this session. So thank you all so much.
Loretta, I'm smiling because Lena in the chat, I think, just invented a word that says Legorific. Have you seen this? Legorific. I love it. Thanks, Loretta.
DC, woo! Oh my God, you guys!
Do you want to show your t-shirt, Loretta? Do you want to show your t-shirt and story?
Oh, here's my Lego t-shirt. The heart is my mother's favorite shirt. So I wore this for my mom today, in addition to the earrings. So yeah. Oh, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So Loretta, I mean, obviously it's not the first time I hear your presentation, as you were kind enough to meet with us and our team here. But when I hear you talk, I find it amazing because, like many of us, you kind of fell into this, right? You kind of fell into this passion of yours.
Yes.
And what I love is that many of us in this industry fall into this industry or this kind of experience.
True. Yes.
And it's really something that unites and makes senior living so unique.
It does.
So, thank you for sharing these very personal things. I was touched to see again this little picture that you showed of you and your mom with the window. That's just amazing.
That thing was something. Yeah.
And it really talks about this expression thing. So, Loretta, I was going through the Q&A, and so we obviously have many Q&A. So maybe the first two questions, if you don't mind asking them, answering them super fast.
Sure.
One of them is Lego Serious Play, is that trademark? Because people were asking if they can put it on their activity calendar, because that's used for communication and marketing. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
So great. It is trademarked. And so when like the artist one, they did have the little R there, Lego and then Serious Play are all trademarked. So as facilitators, we can really use it. What you can do though is simply just call it a Lego activity or night with Lego or something like that. You can certainly do that. Just change the name slightly if you want, or if you put the little R trademark on your little flyer, go for it. So yeah, that would be my easy answer.
And then another very quick question here is, what are your recommendations? Because many people want to do this like today or tomorrow.
Yes.
Some people are talking about getting the Legos from their kids and all of that. Many questions about cleaning and infection control and all of that. Yeah.
Yes. Great question. So I learned this from this thing called Brick Fair, which happens in a lot of places in the country. They have these huge pits with all these Legos in it. So they did a whole sanitizing thing. You can either put them in, the sanitizing liquid, you can do that. They had a dryer at this thing. And so it went through this whole little system. If you're just doing a bucket, like my next door neighbor was doing the wipes and we did all that. So we had a little thing, a patio where we've done that. And I do that for every session. So when people the reason they get to open the sealed bags cover everything because they either come from Lego sealed and all that. So there are lots of ways to do that. But yes, if you're doing it, in a community, I would say for right now, don't mix up the bricks. Put 50 or 75 bricks on this one table, and that just be for the 4 people at that table, and so on. Instead of having people walk around to different tables and snatch other people's bricks and that kind of thing. So there are ways you can certainly do that control. And so, but there are ways. And if you actually Google, cleaning Legos, there's a lot of things online to show you like the right mixture and things like that. You could do the spray with Lysol. So that's a great question. People have done that. Certainly I've done that. And so I did the wipes that dried a little faster and was a little easier to do. So I spent, most of 2020 doing that.
I'm sure. Another question, Loretta, is some people were asking, do you sometimes get the reaction from residents that this is too childish?
That is a good question. And I'd say no, it is surprising in a way. And so just to be honest, full disclosure, I do take the things off. Here's a big Lego brick. Then I took the thing off that said 1.5. And it has a huge, amount of bricks in it. They just love the fact that they're actually building a story. And so that sort of takes that away, I guess. I have not had that complaint at all. They just dive right in. I'm somewhat surprised by that, but then again, maybe it's just the way we set it up and explain it.
Sure. And I guess we have time for maybe one other question. Many people were asking about the music, the setup, and so on. Can you, like in less than 1 minute, if possible, like give us like your ideal setup, like music, tables and chairs, all of that, lighting, all of that?
Yes. So round tables, usually I put them out in a really fancy way. Sometimes I make shapes. If they don't have the little bag kits, I make a little design on the tables. I ask about music first. I don't just play music. Most of the groups will tell you the majority rules on whether there's music played during the building. Some people feel it's distracting. So whatever the group wants, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. How do I get a Zoom day with you?
And here we go. 2 p.m. Eastern. We're done. Thank you so much, Loretta. This was amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Loretta, just quick notes here. We got many questions. So what we're going to do in our follow-up, as we usually do, is we include your contact details. And I do want to pause before you go, Loretta. I just want everyone to hear this. Obviously, many of us was impressed by Loretta's passion and some of her successes in using this for elders that we're honored to serve, right? But please don't discount also what Loretta's work could do for you and your team and your organizations, right? Lego Serious Play is great for people living with dementia and cognitive change, but please also consider this as team building, objective setting, strategic discussions, because we at Link Senior did it, and that was, 2 or 3 months ago? We had team members talk about it last week, so that was a great concept. So Loretta, thank you so much for all the work that you do, and safe trip back to DC.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye.
And Loretta, do you mind?